Hello, welcome. I'll be your host today. First name Za, last name Critique, and I'll be deep diving your video games. Now, how do I accomplish this task? Well, I roll up a little friend of mine filled with a magical flower called Za, spark it and puff it as I play the game. I then digest everything the game has to offer and deliver to you all in an ADHD format. Hopefully not too brain rot. Hopefully. Oh, Boing Boing, you made it. This here is my co-host, Boing Boing. Say hi. Boing Boing. He only consists of very few words, which include boing and boing. Anyways, sit back, relax, grab some snacks, maybe light one up, and enjoy my deep dive on The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. For those who are unfamiliar with the series, The Legend of Zelda, created by these two, Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka, is basically a chosen hero sent on a quest to defeat a certain evil that resurrects every century or so. But listen, that's just me dumbing it down. The series is actually very deep with both beautiful and tragic stories. From the sky to the greatest depths of the caves, from the first in the series to the most recent in the series, the Zelda games have so much lore to find it'll probably make your head spin. But today we will focus on one particular game in the series, named The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. The dark horse of the series, people say, the game where things finally got realistically dark. Majora was indeed probably the scariest before, and can be argued to still be scarier than Twilight Princess. Ocarina of Time also had sparkles of darkness in the game with the Shadow Temple or even the well as a kid, but those are all pixels. In the end, it's not really that scary. The Twilight Princess graphics were a bit more scary at the time, more real. That would take the edge for most people, even including me. But we will talk about that first.
Todd and his family are preparing for the downside of Y2K should it come to pass.
There's people out there that I've talked to that said, there's nothing going to happen. What are you basing that on? Nobody knows.
Deja, there are waiting lists and tickets just to stand in line and get a chance to buy PlayStation 2.
Apple, but I'm pleased to announce today that I'm going to drop the interim title.
Crazy enough, TP was not always on the plan book for Nintendo, so that's why we're jumping back to the 2000s. Specifically, Japan Nintendo Space World 2000. The birth of the GameCube, Game Boy Advance, and the beginning of the end for the Nintendo 64. I know, sad, but cheer up. Many incredible games were shown during the event, but the people were here for one thing, the Nintendo GameCube. Everyone was excited for this console, but they weren't ready for what it had in store. What happened? Boing boing. Fix it, boing boing. We need to get back to the tape. Boing. 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 Nice, get back here now. I just rolled this fast. Out of all the amazing games that were shown for the GameCube, the biggest highlights were Mario 128 and The Legend of Zelda 128. Huh? Yeah, weird names, but there is actually a reason for it. Let me break it down. See, while Shigeru Miyamoto was working on the sequel to Super Mario 64, he always planned to name it Super Mario 64-2 for the Nintendo 64 DD. And for those who are unfamiliar with the DD, long story short, the DD was an extension for the 64, nothing downloadable. It's kind of like a hardware you clip to the bottom of your 64, and it was going to be used for downloading DLC. Wow. But sadly, it flopped early in its stages and we missed out on incredible ideas. Plus, the name 64-2 was scrapped forever. Or so we thought. Miyamoto decided to bring the name back for the event, but instead of calling it 64-2, he decided to just multiply them together, which equals 128, hence the name. While it's not a revolutionary name, it does have legendary status among us Nintendo fans. And I'll explain that in a second. Let's bring it back to Zelda. Why does Zelda have 128? There weren't any Legend of Zelda 64. So why 128? I don't know. I seriously don't know. Let's just theorize it was called Zelda 128 for consistency reasons, you know, to match Mario 128. But listen, we're getting off topic. These two demos pretty much inspired many of Nintendo's beloved games today. Mario 128 was the foundation, or you could say idea bomb, for Mario Galaxy, Star Fox, and even Pikmin. On the other hand, Zelda 128 was just a fight cutscene between Ganondorf and Link in a dimmed evil castle setting. Now for that time, the graphics were incredible and the motions of the two characters were as realistic as you could get compared to other games. This shit got people excited. People went crazy over it and wanted more. Yes. Fans' expectations were set incredibly high, thinking that this tech demo was the teaser for the next game. But sadly, that wasn't the deal. Eiji Aonuma, the director-producer of many Legend of Zelda games, was not making anything remotely close to the tech demo shown that day. He was actually working on Wind Waker, a drastically different game than Twilight Princess, which actually got fans mad. Even if Wind Waker was an amazing game, people didn't buy it due to it looking cartoonish and childish. It was not what was shown during Space World, but the thing is, Nintendo didn't really promise anything. It was more like, hey, here's our console, and here's what it could do.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But they should have said something about Zelda 128 and Wind Waker. Regardless, Wind Waker was a flop on sales, and Shigeru Miyamoto was not very pleased with his creation not getting the love it deserved.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
Unfortunately, he gave in, and on the brink of the Zelda series becoming no more, yes, I say the Zelda series becoming no more, Wind Waker was a very bad flop. He asked Aonuma to develop what they somewhat promised at Space World 2000. So, Aonuma started development by looking back at old games in the series. He was specifically targeting a game he wished he spent more time on, which was Ocarina of Time. And since Ocarina of Time was already so popular, Aonuma wanted to make a sequel, but not too closely related. Therefore, it was decided to set the story of TP several years after OOT and Majora. Link in TP is actually related to Link of OOT, so safe to say, OOT Link got busy with Malon, and since then, his bloodline became farmers. And if you don't know, Malon is actually a farmer we get to meet in OOT, who is theorized to have become Link's wife after he settled down. Fun fact, Malon's farm is the first place where we meet Epona. And speaking of horses, Aonuma felt like he could polish a mechanic he wished he had more time to work on. Getting to ride through OOT's Hyrule Field felt amazing once we had a chance as adults in-game. But sadly, that was all we could do with it, just riding him around Hyrule Field. These controls would feel clunky at times, but to be honest, that's how most old games felt. And with this in mind, Aonuma started by working on horseback ride to make it smoother and add a bit more things to do with our seats. This idea is what built the foundations of Twilight Princess, and his team kept on adding ideas upon ideas. While Aonuma and his team were working hard on the game, a movie by the name of Lord of the Rings came out. A goated series, by the way. I 100% everyone to watch it once.
I gave you the chance of aiding, winning me. Away your
Aonuma loved the series and was inspired by it. While playing the game, you can see and feel the inspiration. I'll try and point out some here and there, but besides that, they needed a gimmick for Link, like they have done for their other games in the past. For example, you got Ocarina of Time with its Ocarina, you got Majora's Mask with its different masks, or even Link to the Past with its dimensional travel. The thing is that Aonuma actually didn't have any idea what he wanted. He only came up with the wolf transformation after he had a dream that he was a wolf in a cage. He woke up the next morning and said to himself, "Hey, I think Link should turn into a wolf." Now that's crazy, even coming from me. I really want to know what he's smoking, because I gotta get some of that shit. Bro's gatekeeping the good shit the whole time. With all these ideas coming through, it was time to start making the game. Mitsuhiro Takano, a scriptwriter known for Star Fox and other Zelda games, was in charge of scripts for all cutscenes, while Aya Kyogoku and Takayuki Ikaku worked on the in-game script. Aya Kyogoku is a director / producer and worked on many games, more notably Animal Crossing, while Takayuki Ikaku was just a scriptwriter with only one game under his belt at the time. Now the soundtrack for the game is 10 out of 10. They're all amazing to listen to, and I will for sure highlight my favorites throughout the video. But Toru Minagishi and Asuka Ota were definitely making magic in the studio. Midway through development, Aonuma left the team temporarily to work on another project. This project later became the game Minish Cap for the Nintendo Game Boy Advance, and was one of Aonuma's favorite games to work on. Meanwhile, the team working on Twilight Princess were still pushing hard on animation, sketches, ideas, but were still struggling. After Aonuma came back from Minish Cap, he didn't like where Twilight Princess was at. He felt a lot of things need to be fixed and figured a small delay from the set date of 2005 to 2006 was needed. He also found out about a new console Nintendo were working on. It was codenamed Revolution, and later became the Wii during later stages. But during the Revolution phase, Aonuma got very excited. He saw that Nintendo were implementing motion controls into their controllers, and he thought it would fit perfectly when Link uses his bow or slingshot. Thus, the Wii joined the development cycle. Twilight Princess was set to release on both GameCube and Wii, and the Aonuma team was split to work on both consoles. Both teams worked vigorously, and finally the game was released in November 2006 as the Wii's launch title, and then later released in December 2006 for the GameCube. To much surprise, the game became the #1 selling Zelda game at the time. It single-handedly saved the Zelda series from being scrapped. Although the reception was well received with a lot of fans loving the game, many other fans criticized some decisions that we will get into. Though some may detest features of the game, it no doubt became the game of most of our childhoods, and many people have fond memories with it. For me, I remember picking up this game off Facebook Marketplace, and I got a shitty copy with tons of scratches. Every couple 30 minutes or so the disc would be unable to read, so I was constantly on my toes, saving. But with enough determination and a whole tube of Colgate toothpaste, I finally managed to finish the game. Sadly, it was not 100%, but it was probably an experience I will never forget. I did go back after a couple years to 100% it, and I did get a copy that works. And still, my opinion never changes. Yes, there are flaws, but every game has them. It's just what annoys you the most. Now that we have gone over the development phase, let's actually go over the game. Shall we? Cheers, my friends.
Thank you for your love. Thank you for the heart. There'll never be a long and lonely night again. Thank you for your love. Thank you for the heart. Girl, please don't ever let me